Hi, welcome back to Mrs. Calabash Cooks. I'm Maggie, and please come into my kitchen. It's rather, looking out of the window, it's rather a dreary Good Friday, but never mind, the bulbs are coming up, so spring is coming. I hope you had your hot cross buns. Da-dum! Made mine this morning. You notice they haven't got a cross on. I didn't have the time. But they're nice and spicy with some cinnamon in there and some nutmeg. These are my downfall. I could eat these with a little bit of jam, some butter, and I could eat these all day long. Some nice raisins in there, and let's just put them back over there. Now I'm thinking Easter. I'm thinking Easter Sunday today and having people over for brunch. Now you don't want to be absolutely worn out when you're doing your brunch. So the secret is your prep beforehand. And I'm making a bacon cheesy breakfast casserole. And you see, I've got my recipe here with all my ticks on it, everything that I've prepared. I prepared all this beforehand because I would suggest that you do this on Saturday and put it in the fridge, and then when you wake up Sunday morning, all you've got to do is assemble, put it in the oven and cook, and then you're going to feel nice and fresh. Now, it says a pound of bacon to dice and fry the bacon. I find that dicing bacon is an absolute pain. So, I've just had this, it's been cooked. What I actually do is I slice with a pair of scissors. I take off the fat, and we're going to put that in the pan. And because I've made two dishes, one's actually cooking in the oven because it takes around 45 minutes to cook. So one is actually in the oven cooking now. And so I had 2 pounds of bacon, and then I strained the bacon, and that's the amount of fat that I got off. Now I actually keep this and use it in cooking. I use it probably with a little oil, and it gives a beautiful flavour to your meats. So we've got the bacon, nicely fried. It's all been drained. I cooked the bacon first, took it out, drained it, and whilst the bacon was cooking, you get more and more fat. So I just pour off the fat so it's not saturated. So there we are. We've got some nice crispy bacon. It's fatal because the smell and the fat is all nice and crispy, and you think, So there is a little, cook a little bit extra because you'll probably all go so that you have the right amount. And here I've got onions and peppers. Now the recipe says 2 sweet peppers. How big is a pepper? So if you want more peppers, I actually use the small peppers today because they look gorgeous and they're very, very sweet. So I actually use 5 small sweet peppers. I use different colours so that we've got a nice array of colour. Frozen corn. You could put canned corn in, or if you've got fresh corn, I've still got some in the freezer from last year, so I just slice it down and use the fresh corn. And now it does say frozen shredded hash brown potatoes. I thought, what on earth are those? I don't normally use things like that. And Terry said it's the little patties, the oblong patties that you get. And yes, there they are. So defrost them and then just crumble, and that's your potato. Just keep mixing things around. Use a fairly large bowl because it is amazing how much ingredients you have. And I have shredded cheese, cheddar cheese and some mozzarella cheese in there. I've used, in here I've got 9 eggs. It says 9 to 10 eggs. If it's a medium egg, then use the 10. But today I've just got the large eggs. So a quick mix together. Now I've added salt and pepper at this stage, and because in the ones I made earlier, we're going to eat it after the show with a salad. So I added a little bit, just a drop of the jalapeno maple coulis. And this is a Montreal firm, and it's Naked Foods. So I just added a little of that. I'm not going to add it now because I'm going to take this over to my daughter's on Easter Sunday, and there's 5 children there, and I don't think they're going to like the hot pepper. But for adults, yes, by all means, put the hot pepper in. This is cottage cheese. It's 1.5 cups of cottage cheese. Just mix together in with the egg. I like to mix this in with the egg so that all the liquid goes in together. This is then added like that. Use a spatula to get all the liquid out. I'm going to mix this round like this, just to begin with, and then we're going to add the cheese. So we have shredded cheddar, a sharp cheddar, and a mozzarella cheese there. Now I actually grate my own cheese. A, it's cheaper, and B, I think sometimes you get a better flavour cheese. But if you're in a hurry, you don't have time, then just use a shredded cheese. It's very good. So we're just going to mix this together like this. And that is all that there is to the cheesy bacon casserole. You can add, at this stage, you could add a little chopped parsley. Now, it's a 9 by 13 casserole. I've only got 1 by 9 by 13 casseroles. So my previous mixture actually made two nice cheesy casseroles. And this is a great dish for a potluck. So, whoa, there we are. We just need to grease this. I didn't grease it once, and I regretted it because everything stuck to the casserole. So just grease. I'm taking a little drop of that oil out because there's a little bit too much in there. There we are. And then we just add this like this. If anybody's got any ideas of a nice casserole like this that they make for brunch, please just come in online and tell me about it, and we can discuss it. Message me. There, just smooth everything down. I'm going to clean off the edges. You will notice on the one that I made before, there's a little bit of brown on the side, and that's because I didn't wipe my casserole. We've got Rat Rod North. He says bacon's one of my favourite food groups. Yep, I totally agree. And actually today, I like a naturally smoked bacon. I'm not too I'm a bit of a traditionalist with bacon. I don't like all the maple syrup and everything on it. I like to be able to taste my bacon. And this was a 25% reduced salt. So we're all trying to adjust the salt in the diet, and that's one way you can do it. Yes, you can use Swiss cheese, Rod. And what oil am I using to line the dish? Actually, what I'm using today is just a little canola oil. You could use a little butter, you could use a spray oil, but I find when I use the sprays, I tend to put too much on. I sort of keep going, and then I've got rather a lot. But canola oil, I wouldn't use an olive oil. I would use a grapeseed oil, something like that. So that's ready for cooking. So the oven is on at 350. The other two casseroles that I made earlier are in the oven cooking, and by the time we finish they'll be cooked and we'll decorate and then eat through. Now when you're doing brunch, you don't want to be over indulgent in what you make. People are hungry for a start because they've probably not had any breakfast, and it's 11 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock, so they're starving. You're entertaining, so you're busy, and you don't want to be absolutely worn out. You want to be able to enjoy yourself, and it's Easter, it's nice, it's relaxed. So the next thing I thought I'd make is something a little bit different in Canada. And this is an old favourite, and it's drop scones or Scotch pancakes, depending where you come from. And when the kids were small, this was a staple for Sunday supper. We'd have a big meal on Sunday lunchtime. We'd sit and watch their favourite programmes on television after lunch, and everybody sort of flop out, and we'd probably have a few sandwiches, some cold meat, some salad, but there was always drop scones, and we'd make a big plate full of drop scones, and everyone would just tuck in as they feel like it. So in here I've got 2 ounces of plain flour and 4 teaspoonsful of baking powder, which we just want to mix together. We've got 1 large egg. Oh, I've got some sugar. Sugar, I tend to just put about a tablespoonful of sugar in because I don't like things overly sweet. Now, you can reduce the sugar and put a few raisins in or sultanas. It just depends. I know a lot of the children don't like sultanas, so yeah, know your children. Let's see who else we've got. JJ. This is my grandson in England. Hi, Jay. Fantastic, Granny. Love your cooking shows. Please do some cooking of fried chicken or vegetarian lasagna. I will, Jay. Love you. Happy Easter. And Rod, where was I born? I was actually born in Norwich, in Norfolk, and then when I was about 15 months old, you can tell from the accent, I was adopted and moved to Yorkshire, and I stayed there, went to Hallam University, well, Sheffield College of Technology, which has become Hallam University, and then from there I moved to Devon, and I lived in Devon for 10 years. And also I've lived in Ireland, I've lived in France, and finally my home is now in Canada. So I've travelled around a little bit, but I never lose the accent. Now we just put half the egg in here, half the milk to the egg, and we want to make this into a nice smooth batter. So just make a little hole in there, like that. You can beat this with a wooden spoon or a whisk. And then let's add some more milk. The amount of milk depends on on the flour, because in England I might need some more liquid in this. I was using an English recipe, because in England the flours aren't as hard as they are here. The Canadian flour is very hard. So let's just now you see that is too thick. So I have some more milk. And if you let it stand, if you make it up beforehand, the flour starch, the starch buds will burst, and you might have to just add a little more liquid. You can always put another egg in. It doesn't. I think we'll add another egg to that. Just a little. I can smell the cheesy casserole. There we are. Whoa, don't drop off. When I'm cooking, I like to have my eggs, I like to have all my ingredients actually at room temperature, apart from things like the bacon, which I kept in the fridge. Eggs are much better at room temperature. Just break that down a little bit. We only want to break down the mucus in the eggs. We're not looking to have a highly beaten egg. There we are. Oh, look at that. It's splodged. I've got one here. There we are. These are lovely. I love drop scones. The only trouble is they're a bit like hot cross buns. You can eat them and eat them and eat them. There we are. So it's just like making a batter. You're just making a batter. I will just add a drop more milk. A little more. There we are. That looks good. It's not too thick. Now, you make these and you have a dish ready like this. And when you've made them, you have a cloth and you fold the cloth over like that, and it keeps the pancakes warm. I've got my special pancake pans, and let me just have a look. Yes, everything's cooking. We're going to cook that casserole until the eggs are just set. Now then, where's my... Now we don't want a lot of oil in the bottom of these pans, but we just want to grease it just so that, there we are, like that, like so. Put it onto heat, like that. Just a little in the bottom of the pan again. Now you'll notice that this is a more fierce burner than that one, so we have to keep an eye on it. We just want that to get nice and warm. And I don't like big spatulas. Actually, this is rather large. I find this too ungainly. And we call it, in England, we call it a fish slice, because it's turned for using fish. And I was teaching one day, And I kept saying to my assistant, can you please get me another fish slice? I need another fish slice. And I kept going on like this, and in the end she said, excuse me, but what is a fish slice? And she said, we call it a spatula. I said, oh, sorry. So we call it a fish slice spatula, but I like these little ones. And these are actually meant for children, but I like that I can handle them better. So you see, that's nice and hot. It might be a little hot. Let's see. Get rid of that. I'm going to pull that down. Actually, this is where an electric frying pan is really good, because you set the temperature and it stays, and you know that they're not going to burn. Just turn up the heat, and you know when they're ready for turning. I don't want them to burn underneath, because you'll see all the bubbles. I don't know if you can see. Let me move this over there. You can see that the bubbles are coming up, and they will bubble. Let's just have a look underneath. Like that. Just turn them like so. And these are bubbling up nicely. Two have joined together. Let's just take this. There we go. And you can see how they've risen. Look, like that. So they need a few more minutes, but I can smell these need to stand for about 5 minutes before we cut them. So use your trivets. If you saw my tip the other day, I was talking about trivets. So you see, that was the same mixture, and you can see how much I got. So here we go. Let's have a look. Yes. Like so. We lost one. There we are. And so we're just going to cover them over with a clean cloth, and that keeps them warm. There we are. So let's just cover them over like that. Excuse me. Like that, and that keeps it warm. So let's just if you're having a brunch and you've not got too many people, you can actually you've made your mixture like this. Encourage people to cook their own. I forget where we used to go, somewhere for a meal in the Gatineau, and they actually charge more for you to cook your own food. And I used to do this in France. We had a huge fireplace. It was about 5 or 6 foot wide. I had a grid on it, and we had a wooden fire, and we had a lot of people come out from Paris, and I used to do sometimes steak and sausage and like that, take it to the table, all cut up for them. And they used to cook their own food, and I charged them more. And they loved it. And a lot of the Parisians used to stay in gîtes or own gîtes around, and they used to say, can we come and cook our own food? Or toast our own bread, because I'd got the toasty forks. And so I said, yeah, sure. Now you see, oh, that's got a little bit too brown, but it's bubbled. Yeah, that got a little bit too hot. So this is where an electric frying pan really comes into its own, because it never gets too hot. We'll just do, they are ready. That's the colour I prefer, not that dark brown, but they still taste okay with butter on. There we are. Again, quickly in the pan, like that, out of the pan, into the dish, like so. And we'll do one more, and then that's it. And we've used it all. So keep the steam in, keep it nice and warm. These I'm doing them sweet today. Leave out the sugar, put a little salt and pepper and some mustard in there, some garlic, salt, and make some savoury pancakes. Not traditional, but extremely good. Serve with cheese, and you could serve it with cheese and scrambled egg. You could eat it as a base for scrambled egg, or have some rather nice cheese, some cucumber, tomato, and make like a cheese dish out of the pancakes. There we are. Look, that's better. And you see the bubbling. Can you see that? So there we are. These are my special pancake pans. I never use them for anything else, and I bought them when I lived on the Quebec side of Ottawa. And nothing ever sticks. I don't know what they do to them, but they never stick. There we are. So you see, this is very quick and easy. Before you go to bed on the night before brunch, weigh up your pancake mix, and then all you've got to do in the morning is add some egg and milk to it, and then cook. And so you get a good plateful of, let's just make sure that's off, yes. So you get a good plateful of pancakes, satisfy everyone. But these are called either drop scones or Scotch pancakes. Another time I'll make some Welsh pancakes for you, Welsh scones. They're different again. And an Irish scone is different again. So we've got those. That is nicely just about cool enough to cut into. But you see, when I said before about not cleaning the side of my plate, my dish, look, it's marked. So if I'd thought about it, I would have just wiped around with a piece of kitchen paper. Let's see if we've got any more comments. I love having your comments, so please. Where have we got to? Pancakes. Good that this is from one of my ladies for What's for Dinner. I do a What's for Dinner in a cooking school at Carlton Place every Tuesday, and we have a really great group. And Michelle said, good that you have different candle handles for viewing the prep area and cooking. Good idea. Very handy, your miniature spatula. Yes, Michaela, it is. And she said keeping the scones warm. That's something that she's learned again. I always try to do something a little bit different. Yeah, the kitchen was a little bit smoky. It's the heat from as the oil heats. And again, this is something, if you have an electric frying pan, it doesn't get that hot. The heat isn't so intense. It's a much smoother, even heat. But we don't all have one, and we do have a window that we can open and a couple of fans that can work. Yeah, they are more like pancakes and scones, but they're either called drop scones or Scotch pancakes. I don't know why. Yeah, you could put maple syrup on those. Definitely put maple syrup on. And I do have some maple syrup. Wow. My other grandson in England. Hi, Aunt. I like my pancakes with maple syrup, English streaky bacon, and spiced rum. Yep. Keep up the family tradition, love. Bye. But you could put anything on them. The traditional way of eating these, the Scotch pancake, is either for afternoon tea or if you've had a good meal for what we call tea time in England, supper time. But tea time in England is a lighter meal. So we're going to keep those warm. Now, which one should we cut? We'll cut this one. So I'm going to, you see that looks a little bit dull and insipid. So I've got some paprika. There we are. Now, paprika isn't hot. Paprika is what we use for garnishing. So just tap a spoon like that. So we want to add a little bit of colour. There we are. We've got some colour. I've got some sliced tomato. So let's go from corner to corner like that with the tomato. We could get another tomato out of the fridge if needs be. We want to make the food look attractive, especially when you're serving it up for brunch. There we are. A little parsley. This has all been washed. You could put some cilantro on there. A little avocado. But the green and the red goes very nicely together. Just to attract people's attention. And this is the flat parsley. This is the also known as Italian parsley. There we are, like that. So that looks rather attractive. I say I've got another one there, but we'll just put that onto one side. Like that. You can eat this cold as well. Now, the way I thought we would serve it today is I put some lettuce on a plate. I had some strawberries, a few tangerines, and what I'm going to do is You see, it needs to stand so that the eggs set. And it's always a pain getting the first piece out. So let's just put a couple of pieces, and you could either serve it like this, decorate it on a big plate, or let people help themselves and have a nice salad by the side. There we are. Let's make sure we've got our orange there, like that. I'll just remove this. Ah, where am I going to put it? Let's just move this over here. And so that makes a nice dish. You could have some small plates set out with lettuce, grape tomatoes, and just on the dish, and let people put the casserole on the top of that. I see, you can add spice to the top of the casserole, but if you add spice to the top, it can taste a little bit raw, because the spice really needs just roasting to bring out the volatile oils. And yeah, cherries or grape tomatoes make a nice garnish. So that is the cheesy casserole. Now to eat the pancakes or drop scones, I've got some butter, and that is a sugar-free jam. That's mine, because I'm going to eat these. Nice raspberry jam. Let's just have a look in the fridge. For my Canadian friends, maple syrup. And I do have a container that I could put some maple syrup in, and then they can just, when they're eating it tonight, I can just pour the maple syrup straight over the top. There we are. And it'll soon be new maple syrup time. There we are. We've got the maple syrup. We've got that. Now, what I'm going to do is and the butter's hard, so you're going to have more butter on. Put the butter on, let it ooze in like that. There we are. A little jam on the side, and I think I'm going to have to taste one. Oh, look at that. That is sheer heaven. So, that is really, really good. So that is a couple of ideas to have a really quick brunch. And thank you for joining me. And next week, if I can find my little bit of paper, I can't believe that it's going to be April the 26th next week. And where has April gone? And so next week, I'm going to be cooking chicken breast in beer. This is a slant on an Irish recipe. So don't be surprised at the vegetable that's going to go with it. I'm going to do mashed potatoes with cabbage, and don't go, ugh. it really is quite delicious. So looking forward to seeing you next week, and please come and join me in my kitchen and have a really happy Easter. Bye. Not fair. You get to eat and we only get to watch. Yep, it's called cook's privilege. I'm going to have another. You don't really need the jam on, but or the maple syrup, but it doesn't, you know, it really. Bye.